Hi guys, Miss Julie here. How you doing today? Thumbs up? Thumbs down? For me today, thumbs up because I get to be with you. So today's our last installment of How Did That Happen? Where we've been talking about the Christmas story, the story of Jesus' birth. And today we're going to finish with the wise men called the Magi. Now the wise men were astrologers and astronomers. So they would study the stars, astronomers, and astrologers, they would try to predict the future based on what they saw in the stars. Now they were very powerful people, and we're going to talk about how they knew about this coming Messiah. So clue number one. This part is fascinating. I'm going to give you a little background. So you may remember Moses, who led the people to the promised land, God's people. And when they got to the promised land, Moses told them, make sure you obey God's laws. Well, sometimes the people listened and sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they would listen, sometimes they wouldn't. Well, after many years of this, God finally said, no. And so what happened was the Babylonians came in and took the Israelites into captivity. And one of the people who was also taken was our friend Daniel. You may remember Daniel from Daniel in the Lion's Den, who, when the king said,
you can't pray to God anymore,
Daniel said,
I will not stop praying to God.
Now, let's back up a few years about Daniel. There was a king, Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. And in this dream, there was a statue. And he called all of his wise men, and he's like, guys, can you help me figure out what this dream meant? Now, the wise men that he called, they were unsuccessful. They couldn't figure it out. The king, King Nebuchadnezzar, got really mad and ordered all of the wise men to be executed, which included Daniel and his friends. Now, when they went to get Daniel and his friends, Daniel's like, wait, stop. What's going on? Why are you doing something so extreme? And so when he heard that the king was upset because his dream wasn't interpreted, he's like, wait, let me talk to God. And let me see if he can help us find the answer. And so Daniel and his friends talked with God, and sure enough, after praying to God, Nebuchadnezzar was able to figure out what the dream meant because Daniel could tell him the interpretation. So listen to what happened in chapter 2, verse 48. It says, then the king placed Daniel in a high position and lavished many gifts on him. He made him ruler over the entire province of Babylon and placed him in charge of all the wise men. Daniel, the same Daniel who wouldn't stop praying, was in charge of all of the wise men. And so I'm certain if he wouldn't stop praying to God, he wouldn't stop talking about God. And so he was the one that told the wise men about the prophecies about the coming Messiah, who we know to be Jesus. So when was it that they knew to start looking for the star? So I have something here I want to show you. I'm going to fill this up with water, and I'm going to put some water on my tray here by the toothpicks, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to let the water do its work. Now, a few years after Daniel in the lion's den, for clue number 3, the angel Gabriel visited Daniel and told him about the coming Messiah. And he told them in 77s, the Messiah would come. Now, the 7s there equals weeks. It's kind of like if I were to say 3 dozen donuts, you would know that a dozen equals 12. So 3 times 12 equals 36. The 77s would be 70 times 7, or 490 weeks. And so they knew that the Messiah would be coming around that time. And so the wise men were watching for stars in the sky. And when they saw the star, they knew something was up. And if you notice here, we've got a star on my tray. Clue number 3. How did they find the baby Jesus? We're going to flip in our Bibles to the New Testament, to the book of Matthew chapter 2. And it says, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east and have come to worship him. Now, they didn't know about Micah's prophecy that said that the Messiah was going to be born in Bethlehem. They just knew that Daniel was from Israel and that the center of Israel was Jerusalem. So they went to Jerusalem to see if they could find him. And Herod didn't know where he was either. So he called together the leaders, the Jewish leaders in the city, and said,
where should these Magi go?
And that's where they learned that they needed to go to Bethlehem to worship Jesus. Now the last clue number 4, why did they go? Why this whole experience? And I'm going to read Matthew chapter 2, verse 11, and it says this, on coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold and of incense and of myrrh. They traveled all that way to worship Jesus and to give him gifts. And so I would encourage you, how are you going to worship Jesus? And what gifts do you have to give to him? Stay safe, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.